There's a bit of drama brewing in Assetto Corsa Competizione at the moment. It was made public by fellow Twitch streamer Sir Fock that a certain setup meta exists where some cars will benefit significantly from absurd levels of negative toe, front and rear.
And I went like -2 and -3 on the rear, and it's like, this is pretty drivable. So I went -4 and -4, and it's like, this is even better.
In some cases it can be as radical as half a second per lap. This is related to the screenshot you see at the moment, but please ignore the tire temperatures as the screenshot was grabbed after a spin. This new negative toe tire meta, is it an exploit and does it really matter? I'm going to give you my 2 cents on the topic. Setup messing of this type with extreme values isn't anything new to sim racing. In fact, it has been somewhat of a practice on many sims to run absurd values in certain setup areas. Race Room had quite the same with negative toe. I'm not sure if it's possible on a current build to run those values. iRacing has the low pressure tires as the current meta, and I believe Project Cars 2 and 1 also had something like this as well. Extreme toes and low pressure tires like that aren't something to be run during a race, so it's unlikely most doing setups would have that in mind, as they would center their efforts somewhere else in the setup screens while doing their tests. Personally, I'm not of the opinion that this is an exploit, but rather a current physics engine shortcoming, because the option to run these values is available from the user interface itself. It could be very well that there are other values where the physics engine is broken, but with more common setup values. There's nothing inherently wrong by trying the extremes of a physics engine. This is more cheesing the game within the game rules. This doesn't mean, of course, that something like this shouldn't be patched, but it's very much akin to find the perfect BOP car. It requires investigation, patience, and a lot of failure. I've also seen the indication that the values shown in the setup page aren't really true values, but rather something to be added or removed to the toe value that the car runs. I don't know if that is true or not, so in that case the issue would be that the user interface mischaracterizes what the values of the cars are actually running. These setup shenanigans aren't anything new, because this has been happening for decades. Neither are these shenanigans being held close to the chest and not being shared by individuals or the teams that discover them. Teams are naturally competitive, therefore any advantage found, any good setup or even something like this, it's naturally kept obfuscated and these kinks hidden from everyone else, even if it comes at the expense of the sim having these physics corrected. Whenever something of this nature is discovered and shared, the result is rather interesting. Immediately, the balance of performance in daily racing changed massively. Cars that were on the front all the time, they were not as prevalent, others became more viable. So it's an interesting shakeup to see, even if probably somewhat short-lived. I say probably because it could be very well the case that this toe is working as intended, or this negative toe effect is just present in this last update. And if it's not, well, it will take a bit of time to be fixed, so it's good it came to light. Some reaction to it has been interesting. Of course, when stuff like this is made public, people will run away with it and do their tests and share it even more, leveling the playing field for everyone. Then there are some that outright deny this works, and some drivers or teams are really annoyed that this was made public. So we got a bit of everything as a reaction. Personally, I think this is good to be made public. If there's a sim correction to be made, then it should. I don't think the developers can be on top of every single tidbit where the results might be skewed in the extremities of the physics engine. And kudos being kudos, this will be ironed out, as other physics have been in the past. It might take a week or a few months, but eventually it will get there. Or it might be corrected by the time this video is up. Another reason I like this being made public is that I enjoy the playing field to be leveled in cases like this where there might be an advantage for an obscure physics shortcoming. While the negative toe drama thing might be in line with car setups, it's not exactly the same thing, because once again, I don't think anybody would run these setups in real life. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments.